Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I just want to talk a little bit about when God created Eve. And I'm going to refer to, this is the book of Genesis, and it's taken from writings, etc., and insights in the Midrash. And it says that this book does not constitute a translation, but rather an adaptation of the Midrashim. The author's goal was to capture the spirit behind the Midrashim and to present the idea of them in a meaningful way, as explained by the classic commentaries of the Talmud and the Midrash. A great part of its philosophy was drawn from the profound 18-volume commentary on the Midrash. And so these are the writings of some of the learned scholars, etc., and commentaries and insights, etc. So I thought, just to give us a bit of a clearer insight and a different perspective of looking at things, I felt compelled to bring this to you today. And so we often ask, we know that God created Eve in the Garden of Eden, etc., etc., etc. But this just gives us another angle of looking at it. And I thought that this would be interesting. So I'm going to jump right into it. And it says here, and I'm starting reading on page 37 of this. And I'll put a link in the description box below. Now, before Hashem created Chava, C-H-A-V-R, now that's Eve, he brought all the animals to Adam. So he would realise that none of them were suited to be his mate. So you've got to get your head around the fact that this is, all this is happening for the first time. Adam's a first-time man, and he's charged with naming the animals. So Hashem asked Adam to name each animal in order to demonstrate his intelligence to the angels. Before the creation of man, the angels had questioned Hashem, "What kind of a creature will he be?" And Hashem answered, his intellect will be superior to yours. To prove his point, Hashem first took all the animals to the angels, asking them to name each one. The angels, however, were incapable of doing so. So this brings us to the point where Hashem brought the animals before Adam, asking him to choose a suitable name for each one. The angels stood by and witnessed how Adam named them all correctly. First, he named them in the Hebrew, the biblical Hebrew, and then in all of the other 70 languages which he knew intuitively. This one shall be called, it says kamor, or meaning donkey. This is a horse, and this is a camel. Now, each name which Adam selected truly reflected the particular characteristics of that animal and was therefore retained forever. For example, Adam realized that the lion is the king of the beasts. He therefore named him Ariyah, and he took several letters of the Hebrew and from Hashem's name and adding the letter to represent the spirituality, since he knew that the prophets used the picture of a lion to describe Hashem himself. He named the horse Sus because he recognized its gaiety and exultation in battle. I'm just careful as I open this. My hand's a bit sore today holding this heavy book. He named he named the horse Sus, S-U-S, because he recognised its gaiety and exultation in battle. He called the donkey Chamois, aware of its heavy and dull nature and its inclination towards earthliness. Hashem then asked Adam, "What shall your name be?" He answered, "I ought to be called Adam, earthling, because I was created from Adama, the earth." "And what is my name?" asked Hashem. "Adonai, master," replied Adam, "because you are master over all your creatures." Isn't that just beautiful when you think about that? You often ask yourself that. How did he think of all those names for the animals, etc.? Well, Hashem knew what he was doing. He knew what Adam would do also. When Hashem brought the animals to Adam, he noticed that they all came in pairs. "Each one has a partner except for me," complained Adam. As soon as Hashem heard that he too sought a mate, he put him to sleep to provide him with Hava. That's Eve, as we know. Why did Hashem wait for Adam to request a wife instead of creating Hava at the same time as Adam? He knew that Adam would eventually complain about Hava, and this in spite of having specifically asked for her. How much more so had Hashem created her without his previous request? Very wise. While Adam slept, Hashem severed the female body that was attached to Adam's back and replaced the missing part with flesh. Then Hashem endowed it with life as a separate being. So that means that the back side was Eve and the front side was Adam. Then Hashem endowed it with life as a separate being. So now Eve is a separate being to Adam. Why did Hashem originally create Adam as one being with his wife? By originally creating husband and wife in a single entity, Hashem invested a man's nature with the capacity to fulfill the Torah commandment, meaning, and he shall cleave to his wife. That is, only to his wife and not to another woman. Now, there's a commentary here I'll read to you. This is interpretation. Now, you have formed me behind and before, i.e. a double being. Now, according to other opinions, however, Hava was created from one of Adam's ribs, a hidden part of the body to teach the woman modesty. And it specifies that it was Adam's 13th rib. So there's two opinions. We normally go and understand because we've been taught it was Adam's rib, but I mean, there's another explanation there, which is quite fine to have that. Now, Hashem in his great wisdom fashioned Hava's body differently from Adam's, giving it the marvellous capacity to bring children into the world. A timely reminder. Only women can have babies. That is one of the greatest gifts a woman can have and give to humanity, is that she brings forth, she receives the seed and grows it and brings forth a child, a life. Only women can do that, and Hashem created it that way, no other way. And it goes on and talks about the wedding in Gan Eden, where Hashem himself brought the bride to Adam. He adorned Hava, the bride, before bringing her to Adam. He plaited her hair in braids and adorned her with 24 different ornaments. Hence why we see brides that are always beautifully dressed and groomed and ready to go to marry their husbands. It is said that King Agrippa made way for a bride when she passed, and he was praised for doing this. And someone asked, "Why do you step aside for the bride?" he asked. And the king replied, "I wear a crown every day. She only wears her crown today." Isn't that a nice thought? When Adam woke and saw Hava standing in front of him, he immediately understood that he had found a mate of his own kind. So he didn't have to ask who she was. He knew that. The angels descended to Gan Eden, playing music for Adam and Hava. And it says that Hashem himself prepared the tables of precious pearls and heaped delicacies upon them. He himself arranged the huppah, which is the canopy that you stand under when you're married, and stood like a cantor, blessing Adam and Hava. It goes on now and describes a little bit about how Adam spent the day in Gan Eden. It says, not only did the trees of Gan Eden produce luscious fruits, but its soil too brought forth ready-to-eat food in the form of delicious pastry. See, we still don't understand the full story, do we? Until you get another insight into it. How wonderful. The meaning of this is that Adam's food in Gan Eden was of a spiritual nature. It goes on and says, Hashem allowed Adam to partake of all the fruits of the garden, and it elevated him spiritually. Hashem therefore wished him to have unlimited enjoyment of all the fruits. So we go on, and that's as far as I'm going to go. We're not going to go any further with that today. But this is just another explanation of understanding about Adam and Eve, especially about Eve and her creation. And I thought it was nice to read it from this book and just to get, the Midrash's insight into it, give us another way of looking at it and understanding. And it just it opens another doorway of understanding for us, I think. And I particularly found that good. I've only read a few paragraphs, so I haven't gone directly, deeply into things there. But however, that's the book of Beraishis, or the book of Genesis, and it is a look at it from the Midrash's point of view. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. Others, it's just I guess another explanation. It's not, how shall I say, anti-other explanations, but it just gives you a more human-like understanding, I think, putting it in words and phrases that we're able to relate to and try to understand what really happened, because we're not told a lot. When we read the Torah, you don't get any trimmings, and naturally you don't. You get pure truth. And so these are what scholars' comments have come along when they've read Torah, and then they discuss how that might have happened. How there's so few words to describe things that's why we need the scholars who have this immense storage of knowledge and years of study, where they're able to put things into context that we as Gentiles can understand and absorb and appreciate. So I really am pleased I read this out for you all today. And in the meantime, remember, only God can create a woman, despite what we hear in recent media, all sorts of debates and arguments going on. God created Eve. God created woman, and nothing has changed ever since. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're a woman forever. Nobody else can be a real woman as God created her. Please take care, and God bless.